Are you overwhelmed by the ADHD morning wars? If so, stick around. We will cover how you can use cognitive reprogramming to start the day calmly. Hi, it's so good to be back. So we all know that as a single mum, raising a neurodivergent child, the morning rush is not a routine. It is well and truly a high-stakes emotional war zone that can leave you, staring at a very bleak day indeed, depleted and drowning in guilt. In this episode, we're going to deliver a hands-on solo parent survival guide combining cognitive reprogramming, 60-second physical reset to stop the screaming, yours and your child's, of course, and help you reclaim your morning. I am joined today by two lovely gentlemen, Cole and Rob from Mindshift Mentors, who, let them tell you all about themselves. All right. Well, Rob and Cole, welcome to the show. I'm a big believer in protecting my audience time, so we're going to skip that traditional long-winded bio. I know that between Cole's decades of coaching, movement and focus and Rob's expertise in cognitive pattern reprogramming, that's a mouthful. You are the experts in rewriting how families react to stress. But I wanted the audience to hear it directly from you, Cole, and then maybe Rob. Can you give us that short, sharp version of who you are and, why do you do this?
I've spent probably 10 years and worked with around about 3,000 kids and their families. Most of my stuff is accidental discovery. I can't claim to have designed it all. Just working with kids with ADHD and ASD, just trying to find the little triggers that'll get them to progress. Some things worked, some didn't. The things that did work, we built on and built on and built on and created stuff from there.
I'm curious, what got you into this field?
I started off as a fight trainer, a fighter and then a fight trainer. And then I just found that working with the kids with ADHD and ASD just a lot more fun, a lot more rewarding. They never quit. We can find the right triggers, if we can find the right drivers for them. Just far more fun than training adults who are just riddled with excuses, all the other things that go with it. I just really have loved working with the kids.
Fair enough. And yourself, Rob?
Mine's an interesting one. Is basically I'm both a clinical hypnotherapist, a strategic psychotherapist, and an NLP practitioner, and that's all big words. But essentially the reason that I got involved in the area that I did is when you look at it, what's happening out there, single mums basically generally are doing double the work with the kids with half the support. So what I wanted to do with the work that we do is provide affordable support that mums, in fact, anyone can use in their everyday life to look at improving the patterns that they run. So the mind or the brain runs on patterns, and whether those patterns are helping you or not helping you, that's how it runs. So I became fascinated in that area. I went, if that's correct, if we can change the pattern, we can change the behavior. And that's essentially where this work, certainly with Cole, started, is kids with ADHD or neurodivergent children. They're not broken. They've got a brain that runs a little different than other people's. And the mums, or the dads, and the people that are parenting. Again, generally they're not broken either. They're just running a pattern. And if we could change the pattern, maybe we could change the behavior. So the work that I get involved in is really around changing the pattern to change the outcome. And it's all around providing that affordable care is probably the way that I put it. And I'm very, very passionate in that area, as Cole is with movement.
Lovely. I love that. And that's exactly why I needed you both on the show today. And I'm sure we'll delve a bit more into the patterns and what they mean and how to break them and how to rebuild them. But just for a moment, if we go back to that problem of a single mum raising a neurodivergent kid and at 7 a.m., trying to attend to a routine, which doesn't really feel like a routine. It feels more like a hostage negotiation where she's completely losing and she's alone in the house trying to get herself ready for a shift, feed the dogs, manage an ADHD meltdown over probably itchy socks. What's actually happening in a child's brain versus her own? And why is the typical parenting advice completely failing her here?
Yeah, look, essentially when we've got an ADHD child, the way the brain works is they're very, very fast in thinking. They dysregulate fairly easily. So when you say, clean your room, or get up, make your bed, clean your room, put your shoes on, they hear, wow, I've got to do all of these things. And what happens is there is an escalation. So when that escalation occurs, from the mum's point of view, there is a patterned response. So clean your room, do this, and you can't regulate something unless you're regulated yourself. So what this is about, it's about allowing things to settle, both for the child, and that's where Cole's stuff and the movement side of the equation works really well, but also for the mum. Because when you're in that pattern of the morning war, and more times than not, it's a regular occurrence. It's not a one-off.
No.
So what we do with the Morning Wars program is we're working with both the mum to be able to do things a little bit differently. And we do that at a cognitive level, where we work on changing the pattern so that instead of there being an escalation, mum's regulating better, things are more controlled. They're giving one instruction, and the child then starts to respond to it. So it's impossible when we've got that type of situation occurring to get any regulation. So the Morning Wars program is really around a couple of major areas. It's firstly around helping mum to regulate a lot better, to insert a pause, to do some things that are differently rather than run a patterned response. And Cole, with the kid, the movement side of it, and we can do it with the children and within the program, there's also stuff there to listen to that look at hitting the patterns that the child is running so that they can learn to do some things differently. But the movement side of it is also a very, very big part of it. And that's really Cole's expertise and why we partnered together to put this program together. Cole.
I was going to get back to something that Rob sort of touched on, but I think what a lot of people sort of neglect or don't talk about is that mum's not just going to deal with that child from 7 o'clock or till I get to school. Mum's going to be dealing with fighting the system for the rest of the day, trying to get justice for their child or help and support for their child. Mum also knows that there's bound to be an incident at least once a week or once every 2 weeks where the child has either had an issue with another child or with a teacher or some behaviour or something like that. So mum's not just, in her mind, she's not just dealing with get this child to school. She's got that totality of all the other stuff just ticking over in the back of her brain going, today be the day that something happens at school. Will today be the day I have that big fight with NGIS? Or will today be the day that this and that? And so this is the beauty of what Rob's offering there is to help mum just calm her farm and just deal with what we're dealing with right now. So, and this is where both Rob and I understand that background, because May's just pretending that we're dealing with one.
Very true.
I think every mum knows there's 30 things racing through that brain from the moment she eventually wakes up after only having about 90 minutes sleep. So, yeah, so the Morning Wars from a movement perspective is 8 videos in there that the child can do. We found that the parents love it as much as what the kids do, but we've got to try and find something that the child really enjoys doing, and then we can just build on that. And then often, say if there is a bit of a meltdown in the morning, we can actually go back to that exercise or that drill that the kid really loves. And that helps them sort of refocus, calm down, puts them in a bit of a better structure for the rest of the day and even just that morning part. So the idea would be to have the child do one of the drills in the morning. It might take 2 weeks to find the one that's, they really enjoy. Have them do that first, then maybe get them into the, preparing for the mornings, them ready for school. And if, something comes undone there, we can either go back to that drill that they did before, which might only be 60, 90 seconds, and then just see if that works. Otherwise, we've got the 8 cheat sheets that mum can go through and check, all right, it's this type of behaviour we're dealing with now, so maybe these would be the steps we could take.
So what you're saying is about utilising specific type of movement exercises to allow them to potentially express that overwhelm of too many instructions or channel the energy into something else? Is that more or less how that...
It's a little bit of both. You find that, so some kids are really aggressive. So we've got some punching and kicking drills there.
Okay.
So they can hook into that. And obviously that's my background, but they can hook right into that, blow a heap of steam off. But once you progress those drills, there's an enormous amount of concentration. And when you've got concentration, then you also have mindfulness.
Sure.
Yes. We've got autistic kids that'll do drills up to 30, 35 kicks and punches, and they have to do it in a certain pattern. So there's an enormous amount of mindfulness involved in that. When you've got mindfulness, those kids can't be worried about what's happening next. They've just got to worry about right now, right here. So,
wow, that sounds like that energy exertion with the focus. That sounds like that would really support them, wouldn't it?
And then when they, if they achieve that drill, or even if they achieve a reasonable amount of that drill, just the enormous amount of pride they have in themselves as well. So they've blown off some steam, they've become more mindful, proud of themselves, it builds their self-confidence. What better way to start the day?
Sounds magical. Sounds really good.
Well, it's not going to work every day. It's just not.
It's a wonderful tool, though, to have up your belt. We know nothing in life works 100% of the time, but if there is just one tool that helps us at 5% of the time, that's 5% that we've just got extra of sanity and potentially a small glimmer of normality. Rob, I'd like to go back to you in regards to these patterns, because we've talked about them now with both the mum and the child. What the heck are patterns and what can we do about them?
Okay, what happens in our lives is everything that we do, we have learnt to do. So from the moment we learn to walk, we learn to talk, we've learnt 1,000 different things. But what happens if the pattern that we've learnt to do, and the brain goes looking for patterns, isn't the best one? So let's use the morning walk. So child gets up in the morning, decides that they're going to tantrum, decides it's going to escalate, and mum goes, hey, I know that I shouldn't be yelling back. I know I shouldn't be losing my stuff so easily. But I just do it automatically. I know I shouldn't, but I do. So that's a pattern. It's a pattern that's being played out generally in the mornings. Mornings is a great time. And we default automatically to the pattern. What cognitive pattern reprogramming does is it combines three methodologies that I'm involved in strategic psychotherapy, which is identification of what the pattern is. It combines a little bit of clinical hypnotherapy trance work, so that way it's a super highly focused state. It combines NLP, which is in pattern interruption. So what we do, or what the work that I do, essentially is retraining the brain to do something different, so that the next time the acting out happens, instead of the automatic pattern, which is, hey, escalate, talk, what we've done is we've changed the pattern where we maybe insert a pause, where we possibly stop. We look and we look around and we choose to do something different. So essentially the work that I do, and it's through the mind shift method, is something that I put together after lots and lots and lots of clinical work, is designed to help a person automatically change the pattern. Because if we could insert that pause, if we could choose to do something different.
Absolutely.
Did I explain that kind of okay?
You certainly have. You certainly have. My initial response straight away, it sounds too good to be true. But I want to be transparent with my listeners that I've actually started trialing your method myself this week. We caught up yesterday, actually. Yep. And my first takeaway was that it was incredibly doable. It wasn't weird. It wasn't awkward. And it was something after my session with you, I could take away and do in bed at night when the house was finally quiet. But for a mum that's sort of she's completely tapped out, what are the mechanics? How, without me giving away the whole thing, can you go a little bit more into the mechanics of it? So how does she go from being in this state of being tapped out and frustrated and on this automatic habit of responding to being able to insert a pause? So
essentially what we do with cognitive pattern reprogramming, the first type of state that I work in is what's called the trance state. And all the trance state is, for people that think it's something magical or something weird, it's a very super highly focused state of attention. Best way to describe it, you're absorbed in a book and it's just taking you off somewhere.
The type of meditation in a way, perhaps?
Yep, to a degree. So it's invoking the trance state. The big thing about the trance state is what it then allows is it allows, when a person listens through repetition to something, for it to start to embed in the subconscious mind. So this stuff isn't magic, right? It takes work. It's not a magical, hey, wave a wand. If that's what people expect, unfortunately, we can't deliver it. But what we can do is over time, through repetition and listening, whilst in that trance state, as you said, when you go to bed, we can start to change the pattern. When we change the pattern, it then changes the behavior. So again, let's take the mornings. Let's say, Cole said in his instance, it's repetition. Again, it's doing the same thing over. So mum goes to bed every night and starts listening to the recording, paying attention to it. We're popping into the subconscious some patterns so that she does things differently, so that pause becomes something that's automatic. Now, regardless of the pattern that's being run, we can learn to do something different. So the really important thing to remember is people aren't broken. We look at this morning war situation and the afterwards, they're going to get this will happen. What that does is it then in the brain goes, oh, I'm a bad mum. Must be terrible. Must be horrible. And then there's that continual looping, and he did this or she did that and we did this and it went over again. And how could have I? So when we start to work with a lot of the patterns with what we can control, what we can't, with knowing that we can influence things, in knowing what upsets us, in being able to break things down, as we start to embed those different patterns, we start to change the outcome. And through the clinical work that I've done, so long as we put the work in, what you're talking about isn't magic. It's possible because that's how the brain works. So if you actually carry it one step further, is this particular program is about mums with neurodivergent kids and breaking that pattern. But in the broader sense, when I'm one of the founders, as you probably know, of Mindshift Mentors, one of the reasons that I set this up is to provide people overall, whether it be mums, dads, or the kids themselves, tools that actually will help change the outcome, change some better cognitive patterns. Inside the Morning Wars program, just for example, there's some stuff for ADHD kids, right? It's called Dream Glow Hello. And what it is, it's a series of bedtime stories that sits within the Morning Wars program that can be played to a neurodivergent child before bedtime to start helping them run some better patterns. We're not going to change the ADHD. That's there. That's real. It's very real. But what we can do is we can change the underlying patterns that sit underneath it. So for the mums, shame, guilt, loop. I'm a bad mum. What can I control? What can't I? Inserting some type of pause. And all of that stuff sits in there. I've worked with the kids from kids aged 3 through to kids aged 9 and 10. Will it change the fact that they have ADHD? Of course it won't. But it will give the kids some tools to feel a little bit more confident. There's one of the sessions in there that's called the 3-pebble path. And what it does is it starts teaching their brains how to separate things and sort things. When they start to do that, not everything is blended together. Once we start to separate some things out, the effect on confidence, the effect on how they feel works. I've worked with kids with dyspraxia. I've worked with kids with ADHD. Can we change the fact that they have them? No, we can't. But we certainly can change the underlying patterns that drive a lot of their behaviour. So they get to choose. So they get to do things differently.
I love that. I love the fact that this program and the way you talk about it is not a substitute for medical treatment or a cure for all. It's actually a collaborative way of going forward by addressing the emotional and mental health aspect of potentially a physical ailment. And like you say, you're not curing anything. You're supporting the person to be able to function to the best of their capacity within that constraint. I absolutely love that. And to hear you mention the Dream Hollow, it gives me an idea that the platform, it's an all-pronged approach. So if you lose your temper, you yell, then we get the kids off to school by the skin of our teeth. And then we spend the entire workday sick to our stomachs with shame and berating ourselves for losing that temper. And my question was going to be, how do your methods help a solo mum break that automatic guilt cycle? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Because we obviously don't have a second adult to tap in and say, hey, you handle the reins for a minute while I go over there and listen to my Zen tape.
And what you just said there was so important. Firstly, this stuff isn't a replacement for therapy. This stuff isn't a replacement for counselling. This stuff isn't a replacement for doctors. What we do with the programs that we do, both the Morning Wars program and the app, is we work alongside to really help change how you're doing something, not why. Now, a lot of therapies, and it's really important, do concentrate on the why, and that is a big part of it. But in the work that we do at Mindshift Mentors and in the work that I do is I concentrate on the how. How is the brain deciding what's true and what's not? Because that's a pattern. One of the things that our brains are very, very good at is making stuff up. And what starts as one little thing in the morning where the child kind of loses it, by the end of the day, they're a terrible mum. The child's going to move back to dad, and the brain has just gone, hey. Now, the brain's doing what it's designed to do. It's designed to protect us. It's designed to go looking for patterns, whether they're working or whether they're not. That's what the brain does. So one little incident earlier in the day suddenly goes into my child's going to move out. It's not true. But what we do with the Mindshift method is we start to work on teaching a different pattern, start to look at that pattern. That particular one is called an intolerance for ambiguity, or that's what I call it. And it's teaching the brain that it's okay. Hey, it's okay not to be perfect. Hey, it's okay to occasionally lose it. You're not broken. Your brain's doing what it's designed to do, which is to run a pattern. So what we do with the app, with our programs, is we start to help you get some tools to run a different pattern. I, too, am coming from the other side. So I was a single dad. My kids were with their mum. And I had 2 neurodivergent girls. So I know exactly what's going on. And let me tell you something. I wish I had the tools that, as a company, I'm absolutely passionate about putting there, because For me, I'd yell, I'd lose it, I'd feel guilty. I'd take the kids back to their mum, and for the next, my days, I got them for 2 days every 14. Those 12 days, I'd be rated myself.
Yeah.
Now, again, all it was my brain going, hey, Rob, you shouldn't have yelled at them. You shouldn't have, they're doing what they do. And when you're a special child, when you've got that special brain that runs in a special way, how I respond and what I do has a lot to do with what they're doing. When we did our session yesterday, we talked about dogs, and we talked about how with the dogs that they regulate off us. And so too do our kids. And that comes back to what I was saying before, is if we can work together to start inserting some pauses and to start running some patterns in a different way, everything changes. And when we incorporate this stuff with the movement, like we are with Cole, Cole's working from the outside in, we're working from the inside out. When you put that combination together, it really starts to provide some affordable, realistic tools that mums can use. And the kids, and the dads, if you're still talking.
Some of us are still amicable, that's for sure. Look, listening to really, if I put my single mum away hat on, and the counsellor in me really resonates with the programs as you're talking about them, because they're really an extension of what we do in the clinic. A lot of the inserting the pause, the tolerance, being compassionate to yourself, allowing yourself to make mistakes, giving yourself grace, building on that, onto better habits, etc. After initially exploring the why, it's almost like an extension. The next step that you've been at a crisis point, you've seen someone, counselor, psychologist, whomever, and then you can progress onto the programs to pretty much just keep nurturing and working by yourself, keep growing and getting better and smashing this solo motherhood gig thing that we do.
It's, just go step by step and stop trying to be supermum. Like most people, we understand. I've seen the supermum, but the supermum eventually will hit the wall. There's no doubt about that.
They do. And when they do, it's a mighty hit through.
Break it down into step by step, to small victories every day, mum benefits, child benefits. Don't try to change the world in 1 day or even 7 days or 10 days. Little victories every day. That's my philosophy anyway.
It's a great one.
That philosophy is so spot on. Again.
What do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day, which is so old and so cliche, but it stands true.
Correct. And this stuff requires, there isn't an instant fix. This stuff requires work. And what you said, Elle, in our program, certainly with the Mindshift Method app and the cognitive pattern reprogramming that's built alongside it, we work alongside counsellors. We work alongside, in some instances, psychologists, to help provide the tools to run some better healthy patterns so that you can regulate. So that, of course, the supermum syndrome, I was just having a look inside the app, there's a pathway, and it's the single mother's pathway, and it covers off on guilt and blame and supermum and perfectionism, and looks at learning how to trust yourself again. Looks at all of those stuff. The Morning Wars program itself goes even deeper on that. Wow. And then we start to work with other experts like Cole, where the movement side of the equation comes in. And, whether it be the app, whether it be the Morning Wars program or a lot of the other programs that we've got, they're really designed to empower people to do things differently. But you have to want to, you have to put the work in.
As with many things in life, unless you actually can commit, and things sound simple, but and they're simplistic, but they need to be actioned and they need to be done. And I like that I'll use it as a little pivot to go back to Cole, because we've been talking a lot about the mind, and I'd like to get Cole's perspective onto sort of pure practicalities. Given that, Cole, you specialize in movement-based resets, let's have a talk about, when you're standing in that kitchen and completely alone and there's that morning paralysis or, chaotic hyperactivity kicks in. Can you give us one specific sort of 60-second physical drill or pattern interrupt that she can execute without any equipment to sort of break that tension and shift the energy?
That's assuming that it's, because there's so many scenarios, but let's say you've got somebody having a meltdown, a really aggressive type meltdown. So one of the drills in the Morning Wars video series is a punch-kick combination. So we can just hold our hands up, or we can just say, let's stop for a minute, assuming the child enjoys that type of thing, but it's going to be trial and error for the first probably 7 to 10 days anyway, to find out what things will calm the mind and get them focused and resort it. So we could, for example, the big explosion, they're angry, upset, we can just hold our hands up and the video will show you how to do it. And let the child do a little combination of maybe 8 to 10 punch kicks or whatever it is. Do it 4 or 5 times, you'll see the kid starting to calm down. You'll see the mind starting to focus again. But yeah, it could take 60 to 90 seconds and you'll just see them just starting to chill pretty well straight away. If not, depending on the type, if it's a meltdown or whatever the issue is on the day, we've got a series of cheat sheets. Mum can just have a sneaky look at the cheat sheet and say, all right, I think that identifies with this behaviour. This will be the best avenue to remedy it or move forward with it. So sometimes it's just a matter of, I believe in the soft hug. A lot of people believe in the hard hug. But I've found that just experimenting with it with mums on the mats, where we used to train, the hard hug was sort of like too restrictive for the child. They preferred just to know that they were cared for, but not
restrained.
Yeah, it could be something like that. But the thing for me would be to find one of the 8 drills that the child really enjoys, and then we can just sneak back to that. So we would be doing some drills, one-on-one drills with the child to build maybe strength or whatever it is, and strength wasn't particularly a child's favourite thing to do. So we might be trying to build some strength, because often ADHD comes with physical disability or whatever it is, and we need to focus work on one issue or one thing. So if strength wasn't their strong point, having a bit of a lapse at that stage, we might just go back to one of the drills we knew they loved, spend 60 to 90 seconds on that, and go back to the strength. If we're trying to teach reflex or balance or something like that, and it wasn't something they were enjoying, we would go back to one of the drills they really enjoyed. And that would get the brain back on, get the body back into motion. So it doesn't need to be a 20, 30-minute thing. I think the longest any of our drills go for is about 5 minutes.
So would you introduce the child to the drill before a situation of a meltdown? For example, like when they are calm, saying next time when there is, because the child's aware of melting down, depending of course on the age, but would you kind of go, next time we're going to try this and I'm going to give you a soft hug and I'm going to try punching, and would you discuss it with them first? Or because I'm aware that when the child is in a meltdown, their brain is all shut and trying to get any intelligent following of directions might be a bit difficult at that point in time.
So I would be starting the day with the drills. And then, again, it could take 2 weeks to find what drill works, both for the parent and the child. It takes a little bit of learning or takes a bit of practice. Find what works for them. I would be doing that every day. So then it might take 10, 14 days to run through all of the 8 drills to find out what really works for both the parent and the child. And you'll see pretty quickly whether they're really enjoying it or not. So I would start the day with that and then start get into your normal part of your day.
Right. So you would actually, when they get up in the morning, get out of bed, you go through the drill, then we go off and wash our teeth and...
Yep. That's exactly how I would do it. And we found, I estimate we've got 200-300 people have followed that system from our training in the gym, and just massive, I would have said probably 200 testimonials to that effect. So
you're in effect preemptively offloading that anxious energy or any build up to start with.
So let's assume the child gets out of bed at 7. In theory, by 7:15, we've built confidence, we've built mindfulness, we've blown off a bit of steam, we've got the brain focused. Then they can get on with it. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen every day, but that's the game plan.
And you find that the children are more settled after that for the rest of the morning, obviously with the mums changing how they deliver their instructions as well. I suppose if we were to bombard them suddenly with 55 billion instructions at once, that would rev up the child up again. But if you keep it one instruction at a time and remain settled within yourself, then that allows that progression to be a lot more chill and peaceful.
Exactly. Well, the child, as I said before, the child already has built their own confidence. They believe in themselves. They've had a couple of victories. They've blown off some steam. The brain has started to dial in for whatever the drill is. By 7:15, they should have had a bank of victories, for want of a better term. Then they get on with their day. 7:45, there's a bit of a hiccup. We can jump back into the drill for 90 seconds if we need to. But you're just amazed. Rob touched on it earlier. This confidence, self-confidence, is just one of the most amazing things in children. I always sort of read about it, believed in it, and all that sort of stuff until I trained so many thousands of people. I really underestimated its value in a child's life, or adult's life, but particularly child. I think just as a bit of an aside, with some of these drills, the mums, particularly the super mums, tend to be really competitive. So when they're showing the child, often they'll be too good. The child can get a little bit upset by it. So we often have to pull mum back a little bit and just say, well, just make sure the child does it better than you.
Fair enough. Les, I love that. Let the kid win for once, Mum.
Yeah.
Love it. And I love how both of you have this. This is a really wonderful concept where you both have provided something that is not water on the fire solution. It is the night before, the morning of, either planting those seeds in the mind of the mum and building new brain patterns as you go off to sleep, or getting up and building up confidence and a bit more peace in that child, so that you end up with the result of less tension and a framework that allows you to withstand those little hiccups.
For those that do have a neurodivergent child, or just try this, try the app. Do it for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and see what type of difference happens. One of the areas that just continues to stagger me is how much change can really happen if you're prepared to put the work in and put the effort in. So I'd just like to encourage everyone to maybe have a listen, have a try, and go from there. So this has been great. I certainly thank you for your time, Elle, for your time again, Kyle.
I'm really glad that I've had you two on today because you're both so passionate about making mental health support accessible. And that matters because single mums are constantly priced out of specialized therapy. We've talked about the two different concepts or two different pathways. So you have the Mindshift Mentors app, which Rob has talked about, which is a brilliant daily maintenance toolkit. And I think that's about $29.95 a month as a subscription. And then you have the Targeted Surviving Morning Wars program, which is priced slightly differently because it's a deeper system-wide reset. And as you said, for the whole household. How would mums know those two options and how they work, and which one does a mum need right now? Where should they go to get started?
If I can answer that one.
Certainly.
The app has been designed, and I hope your readers will be able to go through a link that we can give you, Elle, for your readers.
Yes, we'll include all links at the bottom of the interview. Absolutely.
So the aim of the app really is to provide support, accessible, that you can listen to, if it be an evening, that covers a wide variety of pathways. So those pathways include pathways for single mums. They can include pathways for better regulation. They include pathways for habits and sleep. So there is a lot of variety in there as far as pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that can be used as a tool for just about anything. The Morning Walls is probably more focused around community and building community, and as a specialty program for the whole family that have neurodivergent children, whether that child be 3, 4, 5, 17, 16, whatever.
Great.
So again, the differentiation, the Mindshift Mentors app is purely around the work that I've done in cognitive pattern reprogramming. So I've written a couple of books, I've done that stuff. And what it is, it's really targeted therapy to use alongside your counsellor, alongside your medical practitioner, to really help you get the tools to look at the patterns that your brain's running that aren't helping and changing. The Morning Wars is much broader based. We've got another expert that's in Cole, right? And Cole's expertise is really around that movement. And when you are working with neurodivergent kids and movement, it goes a lot deeper, where we're combining the movement with the cognitive pattern reprogramming, with the other resources around Dream Goal Hollow and special recordings for neurodivergent younger children, and special recordings in there that have been designed for the siblings as well. Because when you look at the ADHD patterns, it's really very much a family kind of situation. It's not just, hey, we've got an ADHD child. It's how it affects the brothers, the sisters, the mums, the dads, the kids at school.
Absolutely, yes.
If you're
the teachers,
community, and you want to build something pretty special, Cole's expertise in the movement and the results that he's got in that space is literally mind-blowing. So when you combine the two of them together, hey, it's a little bit more expensive. I can't remember the exact cost.
I think the introduction is $2.99, but it will eventually go to $4.99. So
okay,
I think that's planned.
But again, it's specifically designed around that neurodivergent area. It's designed around movement. It's designed around bringing in other experts apart from the area that I work in. The app really is to provide a tool so that if you need help regulating, if you need help sleeping better, if you're running through that guilt shame loops, learning to trust yourself and looking at perfection, looking at that. So there's a whole series of pathways that have been designed that are based on the work that I've done with single mums and people that are really designed around pattern interruption, that are designed around running some better patterns, running some better cognitive patterns. Because if you put the time in, the effort, you can change things. One of the things for me, as a single dad, I can tell you now, I'd be lucky if I could afford the $29, let alone anything else. Because for me, my journey, money was tight. This whole business is built on providing something that is tangible, that is is provable. Inside the app, we've actually got built a general, it's called the GAD-7, which is basically 7 questionnaires that talk about how much stress you're running and where you're sitting on the scale. And within the app, you can actually measure where you're at right now against where you're at 2 weeks later.
Lovely. So you can measure your progress as you go.
Absolutely. My burning desire with this, as is Cole's, is to change the lives of as many people as we can in a way that is affordable, in a way that's sustainable, not being snake oil salesmen. And, I find it quite interesting, the claims that are out there. There's lots of them.
Gosh, yes.
Now, this stuff isn't magic. This stuff takes work. You've got to put the effort in. And if you don't waste your money. Absolutely. If you're not going to listen, don't waste your money. If you're not going to do the stuff on the movement with the kid for the morning walks, don't waste your money. But hey, if you want something that's sustainable, if you want something that if you're prepared to put the effort in, the time in, there's a pretty good chance that this stuff's going to make a difference. And it really comes down to, do you want to try? Or are you happy with how things are at the moment? Because I don't know, someone once said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Bless, so true, so true. And I love your raw honesty there. If you're not going to try to do the work, then just don't invest that money. And that is such good advice. I think that straight away points me in a direction of thinking about the authenticity of his programs. In regards to Cole's program, it's a little bit more expensive, but I wonder if mums, and I don't know if you have explored this or would have the answer to this, whether NDIS would be at all suitable to cover, given that it is a mental health physical concept. Are you aware if NDIS would be a body to approach for funding for such a course?
I think I spoke to Rob about it, but we haven't pursued it. 70% of all of the private sessions that I did were covered by NDIS. A lot of those were self-managed, but a lot weren't. And they were still covered by NDIS. So.
Yes.
Whilst we haven't explored it, my understanding is that there is an exceptionally high chance that it would fall into that area.
That's some wonderful hope there as well. As you were saying, for some, even the $29.95 might be a stretch, but to know that they could potentially reach out to NDIS and have that morning wars covered, that's a great path to explore. Well, it's been a lot of information, and I know that mums are short on time and probably short on bandwidth. So I'd like to close off for today, and thank you so much for bringing in so much practical magic and raw honesty to the table. I think you've given us a real lifeline today with both of those platforms and both of those programs. So thank you so much, Rob and Cole.
Thanks, Al. Very nice. I'd be happy to jump on if people do comment. If there's any way I can help, that's what I'm actually here for. So if I can help, I'll help. So.
Thank you. That's much appreciated.
The thing that I just find staggering is, one of the things that you've got is that you're an ethical gateway for single mums, and I love that. Absolutely love that. And the other thing that I love is Cole's passion, your passion for what we do. It's just staggering that when you're out there and you're doing to your absolute utmost, how can we help?
Bless. Absolutely. And thank you for the compliment. It's really good to be able to meet someone that's in this space that is authentic as well. So I'm really glad that our paths have crossed, and I hope that we can really help the mums.
I have no doubt we can do that.
All right. I appreciate your time today so much, and I wish you the rest of the day to be wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
I'm sure we'll be in touch again very, very soon.
Thanks, Al. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
See you, Rob.
Thank you. Bye. Well, mamas, what an episode. I've learned so much. The concept, obviously, of approaching things from a physical and a mental health side is not new. But to be able to bring that together in such a nice, holistic approach with two blokes that actually truly, really passionately care, it's been a pleasure to come back on this note. And I look forward to sourcing the next guest for our episodes. And I'd like every single mama watching or listening right now to know that you are doing an incredible job, and carrying the mental load of an entire household all by yourself is no easy feat. I'd like you to drop a comment right now and let me know what is the number one trigger that turns your morning into a war zone, and how else can we support you in having a simpler and easier and more peaceful life. I look forward to seeing you next month. Take care now.